Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Em and I am the founder of NapoleonSwimwear.com, a small startup e-commerce store that is based out of my home apartment here in Melbourne, Australia. My channel is all about the behind the scenes of a startup e-commerce store, and I give real no BS insights of what it's actually like. There are no big money flexes or Ferraris on this channel, so if you're keen to follow along my real journey, tap the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, as it will really support my business. So today's video is going to run a bit differently to my previous ones. My previous ones have been days in the lives. Today's video is going to be more educational, as I want to give you guys the 8 real steps that you should take before starting your e-commerce store. These 8 steps are from my own personal experience, and I promise you that after watching this video, you'll be able to hit the ground running towards starting your business. Alright, so step 1 is you need to have a concept. What is it exactly that you want to sell in your store? Is it one product? Is it a collection? Is it a variety of products? Can that one product be branched out in the future to make, multiple versions of that product? For example, if you're going to make coffee, you want to launch a coffee business, are you just going to be selling one type of coffee forever? Or can you see that coffee business, branching out into a few things? So you might sell like 8 different versions of coffee, so different flavors, different roasts, different blends. Will you eventually sell tea? Will you sell coffee cups? What direction can you see the business going after the very first release? So you need to have a concept for the very first product, and also once you launch that product, what's going to happen next. A lot of people get wrapped up in huge business plans, which ends up putting them off starting altogether. I did not have a plan. I had a rough draft of what I thought I wanted to do, but I didn't go and do a whole full business plan before I started. And I'm actually glad I didn't do this, because when I went out, to start looking for manufacturers, to, getting stuff shipped in, shipped out, all of that, when I started to actually get into the nitty-gritty of like, let's launch this business, my original concept had already changed like 6 times before launch day. So I'm glad I didn't do a plan in the beginning that was, locked in, because by the time the product came and I was ready to launch, I had already changed my ideas so many times. So I think it's good to have a rough idea of what you want to do, but don't get locked down into, this has to be done this certain way, because everyone knows when you're starting a business, it's not going to go to plan and you're going to learn so much in the beginning. Don't spend hours and hours or weeks or months locking yourself into one plan, because guarantee before launch day it's going to change. The only exception to this would be, you would need to have a business plan if you're planning to get finance or investors, because they want to see in writing what your plans are for the business, the direction it's going, and all stuff like that. In the concept phase comes your target market. Who are you selling to? Who's going to buy your product? Where do they live? Are they male, female, or unisex? How old are they? How much money do they like spending? Where else do they like to shop? What are their favorite colors? What social media platforms do they use? All of those types of things are really important in the concept phase, because you want to know who you're selling to before you launch. For example, with my business, I knew that my target market was very much like me, because the swimwear products that I was creating were products that I wanted to buy. And when I was traveling to Europe or when I was traveling to Bali, I wanted to buy specific swimwear that had prints that matched those destinations. So my target market was females. You have to niche the age bracket a little bit just for your marketing. It doesn't mean you can't sell to people older and younger, but I had, 16 to 35. Trust me, I still have 50-year-olds and stuff buying from me, but this is just who the tone of voice is, who, what these types of girls like is what I will be putting into my marketing. They come from Australia, because I want to sell in Australia first before branching out overseas. They like to spend this certain amount of money. A 16-year-old doesn't have a huge salary. A 35-year-old may have just had kids, so they don't want to spend too much on themselves. When I launched the business, I was 24, and I knew at the time how much I personally like to spend on bikinis. I also asked a few of my friends who are the same age as me how much they like to spend on bikinis. So yeah, this all goes into the concept phase. All right, so step 2 is you need to choose your business structure and type. This was something I had no idea about before I launched, so I started as a sole trader. As a sole trader, the business is under your name, so you're running it under your own personal income. You have no protection, so if anything goes wrong, you are fully liable. This has been fine for me up until this point, but now as I'm scaling and growing, I do need to have a bit more protection for myself and for my business as well. I wouldn't want something in the business to affect my life personally, moving forward. I'm working with an accountant now to help me move everything over. You can either choose to set your business up as a company or a trust, which I recommend you research or speak to an accountant about. I'm nowhere near qualified to give that type of advice, but yeah, that's step 2. Step 3 is you need to register an ABN, which is an Australian business number. You can honestly just do this online. I typed it into Google. I was like, how to register an ABN. But if you just go on the Australian Business Registry, which is the abr.com, it's a government official website, you can register it there. I believe you need to have a tax file number at this point as well. So an ABN and a TFN. It's actually quite a vital step because you can't run a business in Australia without an ABN. You also need the ABN to set up your business bank accounts. All right, so step 4 is you need to set up your business name, your domain, and your social media handles. This one is fun. This is so much fun. Like, you get to name your business. How bloody cool is that? It's like naming a baby, literally. Except like if you really want to change it down the track, you can, but like not really. Like, you don't really want to. So in this phase, you need to check that the name that you want is actually available. You don't want to set up like everything and, you know, get your products made, have your product like labels, your swing tags, you know, your website set up, all your logo's designed, but the name ends up not being available. So you need to start looking into this pretty early on because you don't want to call your business Napoleon Swimwear, which is my business, but Napoleon Swimwear is already taken. So you need to choose your business name and then you need to set up the domain, which is your website URL and your email address. In Australia or whatever country you're from, I recommend checking that the .com and the .au are available. In this phase, you also need to check that social media handles are available because I could personally not think of anything worse than naming a business and then getting onto Instagram and there's no variations of your business name available. Like, that would just stress me out so much. So yeah, check that the domain is available and that the social media handles are available, especially on, I would say, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Facebook's not really a handle anyway, but you get my drift. This is also important because you want your name to be searchable and discoverable. You don't want people trying to type a whole heap of different things just to figure out where your social media is, because the handle is nowhere near like the business name. You might want to look into trademarking as well. A lot of people say that trademarking is only essential if your idea is, you know, super unique, never seen of, never heard of before, to cover your bases and to make sure no one copies you. Otherwise, they say it's not really worth it because of the fast-paced changing industry. It ends up being something that you pay for that doesn't, you know, really pay off in the long run. Like, you're not actually covered because people can make different variations of your product or your name, and I don't know how to explain trademarking too well, so if this is something that you want to do, definitely give it a bit of a research or speak to someone about this. But yeah, it comes into step 4, so I just wanted to mention it. Alright, so step 5 is you need to check with an accountant or the ATO about any taxes, fees or whatnot that you will need to pay for. I'm not going to give any financial advice because that's not my strength, but an example of this is, you know, paying GST after you're making a certain amount of money. You just need to be aware of when this comes up and how to pay it. In my first year being a startup, I didn't make over 75,000, so I didn't have to register for GST straight away. So if you don't think you're going to be turning over that amount of money, you don't need to register for this before you launch, but it's something you need to be aware of. So I definitely recommend speaking to an accountant. Step 6, I think I'm up to 6. Yeah, I think so. Is you need to check if there are any licenses or permits that you need to have for your business. For example, beauty products and food products, like if you're making the products at home or in a factory or a warehouse, you definitely need to have some sort of licensing or permits to do this. So super essential for you to look into that. You will literally get closed down and probably fined if you don't have these things. Another example of licensing and permits is if you need to have some sort of OH&S in place for the workplace that you're working from. Step 7, this one is so important, and I know it's so important because I didn't do it and I really suffered for not doing this, so I've added it to my list. And this is to set up some sort of accounting software. For example, Xero is what I use now. It's spelled Xero, and it is an accounting software. So I didn't have this in the beginning. I had a spreadsheet and it was a nightmare. So every time a payment came in or a payment went out, I was physically typing it into a spreadsheet, and like there was formulas going and it was just so much work to manage. So definitely get something like a Xero set up so everything's just automated. There's a little bit of work involved, but it's just like so much easier to have it done for you than for you to have to do it every day or, you know, once a month, and you get behind because you're too busy. So yeah, huge. Just do it, you will thank me later. I spoke to an accountant recently about this and he told me that I also need to be tracking stock, which platforms like Xero can do, and I didn't know that you had to be tracking stock and that when you're getting your tax and your GST and everything like that. So yeah, having an accounting software will just help you when it comes to these important tax times. I know a lot of these things that I'm saying might sound stressful and overwhelming and scary, and I totally understand that because that's how I felt in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to set this business up? Like, all of these things are so hard, they're gonna take me so long, like what am I even doing? Mind you, I didn't have a video like this to help me out, so that's why I'm making this video today. But don't let it scare you off starting, because looking back at this now, so my business is 3 years old now, looking back at the first steps to starting your business, which is this video here, these are the easiest steps I ever took. The pre-launch was the easiest part of my whole business journey, which is just nuts because at the time I thought it was exhausting. I thought it was so hard, and it's crazy because these steps in this list to me, I reckon it took me 6 months to get all these things set up. Now, I reckon I could get them set up in like 2 days. So if this video is alarming you about how hard it's gonna be to start a business, just know that this is the easiest part. So do this now, do this today, and get started, get working towards your small business startup dreams. If you need to watch this video again, just do it. Maybe get a pen and notebook and write down the steps that I just listed. Everything will make sense and fall into place as you start working through it. I will share another video soon about, some manufacturing tips, setting up your store, setting up your social media. This video here is the initial steps that you need to take, and then there's a lot more steps that come after this before you even launch it. So be sure to subscribe if this is something you want to watch and want to learn and grow. Yeah, and if you have any questions along the way, just drop them in the comments and I will try my best to help. This is the list. Get started on it, and I wish you all the best of luck and success with your small business. It's gonna be so much fun and you are gonna grow and learn, and oh my God, I'm so excited for you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.